check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Alright, what's up everybody? Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is basically going to be showing you how I'm going to finish off these running boards. My video the other day showed you how I templated this out and made the cuts to match the car shape. Really kind of doing this on the fly as I go. So the last video showing you the first steps. It lacked a little bit of detail. It's only because I didn't know what I was doing really. I was just making it up as I go. So now that I got the first running board cut out, I basically have to lay it on top of this other piece of wood, mark my lines, make my cuts, and that way I have a mirror image of of the first one. So I'm going to go ahead and sand these down. I'm going to stain them, and I think I have a way of preventing this from maybe warping, because I have a feeling that these might warp over time. If they do, that's okay. They're really cheap. I can just take them off and do something else. But let's go ahead and get started on these. Follow along if you think this is interesting to you. We're all about the air-cooled life here. Do some other stuff, but mostly air-cooled. So let's jump into it. Follow along. Thanks for being here. Like and subscribe, please. Let's juice that algorithm. Hit that subscribe and hit the bell. Hit the thumbs up. Thank you very much. Alright, there we go. Now we got two boards that are a mirror image of each other. Sanded these down really nice. They really don't need much sanding because it is already smooth wood. I know this is pine, and I probably should have went with a harder wood. I just kind of wanted to do a test run with these. I'll leave them on the car as long as I can, but if they do start to deteriorate or warp or crack or whatever because it is a soft wood, then I'll just take these off, use them as a template, and use a harder wood next time. But anyways, aside from that, these are pretty much done and sanded. They're nice and smooth. Now I'm going to go ahead and get all this sawdust off them. I'm going to throw a stain on these. Hopefully my stain matches the wood grain on my car close enough. And then I'm going to add one more piece on here, a trim piece that will hopefully act as not only decorative but structural and keep these things from warping. So let's move on to that. Time to stain these bad boys. So before you actually apply this stain to the boards, if you're doing something like this, like me, I would highly suggest testing out on a scrap piece of wood. That way you can verify if the color is going to match. If you need to match it to anything. If you don't, then just go with it. But I'm trying to match the side of my car, so I really want to test it out first before I go ahead and start coating what I just worked on for so long. So I'll test it out on a scrap piece of board that I cut off of this one. And hopefully we'll get a pretty decent match. Alright, so I'm going to let that kind of sit up and dry. I think that's a pretty good color. It's going to be pretty close to what I have on the side of the car. So I'm going to let this dry and then we'll come back to it and check it out against the car and see how we did. So look, I forget what these are called, but you open them up and see what you see. What are those called? Dude, you know what I'm talking about? Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. Drop the name of that in the comments, because I can't think of it. Alright boys, we're in luck. So I decided to put a second coat of stain on this test panel. And I'd say it's a pretty good match. Now the wood grain is obviously a little bit different, but that's okay. But I think that's a pretty damn good match. So 2 coats of the stain is what it's going to take, and I'm really happy with that. So I feel comfortable moving forward, staining the 2 boards that I cut out. So let's do that now. Oh yeah, I really like this. It's gonna look really nice on there. Look at that wood grain. Woo! Love this knot. Almost looks like it's concave. Oh, these are gonna look beautiful on there. All right, I'm gonna let these dry for an hour or two, and then move on to my next step. Okay, so I've had this piece of metal. Actually, I have two of these laying around. I got these for a parade float project a few months back. Never used it, so I think I need to use it for these running boards. So what I'm gonna do is this is a 4-inch section. I'm gonna cut 3 4-inch sections. Since these already have holes drilled out, I'm gonna use one section on the front end, one for the middle, one for the rear. I'm gonna screw these into the heater channels, and then the board's gonna sit on the other side, and I'll be able to just take a small screw and go right up through these holes into the wood, and that's how I'm gonna attach it to the car. Hopefully this works, fingers crossed. I think it'll be just fine. Okay, I got my 3 mounting brackets cut to equal lengths, 4 inches, one for the back of the car, one for the middle, and one for up close to the front fender. And I'm just gonna go ahead and paint these the same color as the car. I don't want these things to be noticeable, which they shouldn't once the running board's on, but gotta make everything look good. Alright, let that dry and we'll screw these into the car. Okay, wood stain is dry, time to add some clear coat. Now I'm using polyacrylic, it's really meant for interior purposes. However, I have used this on exterior mural walls before after I painted a mural on a wall in the full sun, and it is holding up just fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and coat these with some polyacrylic to really seal them in nice. Dust free and clean. I'm going to use a brush for this method instead of a rag. Okay, so the wood is stained and sealed. Now I'm going to go ahead and get these brackets that I made. I'm going to get these installed in the channel here. I'm going to do one about here, one dead center, and then one a little back from the front fender. So it's gonna go something like that. I'm gonna go ahead and hit the screws that I just put in with a little bit more glue, just to cover them up. And then I'm gonna have to put a rubber grommet. I'm gonna have to drill a hole through this rear fender because there's not a hole there to line up. I'm gonna have to drill a hole, and then I'm just gonna feed a screw through the wood, which I'll pre-drill. And I'll put a little rubber gasket in between those just to protect from any vibrations. All right, so just as I thought it would happen, the heads on the self-tappers stick out way too far, and that bumper, or that running board it's not allowing it to sit up flush against the body there. So I'm gonna take the self-tappers out, and I'm just gonna throw some rivets in the place of those, and that way that there won't be anything blocking that running board from sliding back as far as it should. All right, so there's before, which I knew might have been an issue, as opposed to a washer and a rivet. It's much cleaner, much smoother, and doesn't stick out as far. Now that wood will be able to bump up all the way against here instead of sitting out. Okay, so I've got these kind of in place, and I just got it propped up in the middle here. I went underneath, and where those holes were drilled into those little L brackets, I just drew a circle where those openings were. So when I pull this back off, I can pre-drill some little holes underneath, because this wood will probably split if I go to pop a screw through it. So I'm gonna take this off, find my marks underneath here where I marked it, do a tiny little pre-drilled hole, and then I'm just gonna put some short, tiny little 1-inch maybe not even 1 inch, half-inch wood screws through the bracket into the bottom of the wood. And I put a screw coming from the inside of the fender through my rubber grommet here and I'm into a pre-drilled hole that I'll center in a piece of this wood, and then the same thing for back there. Hopefully that makes sense. And so here's what those rubber grommets look like. Okay, so with wood like this being this thin, there's always the concern of if this is going to warp or not over time. You don't want it to like twist or bow in the middle or anything like that. So I came up with a way to where I think it's going to eliminate any chances of that happening, and it's going to be visually appealing. So I just went to Lowe's and I got this aluminum U-channel trim piece, and basically it fits right over the end of this wood. It's a perfect fit. And then basically what that's going to do is that's going to protect that outer edge from bowing or moving. So, and it's going to give it a nice metal finished edge. So all I have to do is take these angles and cut the little corners off so that it matches the curve of the back end here. And then pre-drill some holes, probably about 4 of them, and put in some nice stainless steel screws right in there. It'll be nice and visually appealing. Need a sharper bit. So all I have right now are these small little zinc coated screws. I probably shouldn't be using anything other than aluminum on aluminum, because I heard that there's like a chemical you can cause rust to happen more often or something, or quicker. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and put these in, and then maybe tomorrow I'll run to the hardware store and I'll get some decorative screws and I'll put them in place of these ones. But for right now, let's go ahead and get these screws in here, get this buttoned up, and then we'll go ahead and put this on the car and we can kind of see what it looks like done. Alright, time to get under here. Throw some screws on the underside. Alright, last step. I got a longer screw here and some washers, and that's going to go on the front and the back, and it's going to screw into the end of the running board. And then we're done. Alright, boys and girls, here they are. They're on there good. They're on there as strong as any running board that you would buy from a bug parts store. I really like how this aluminum U-channel really finished off that edge, and it's also going to make this a little bit stronger, so I won't have as high of a chance of this wood bowing. The only thing I don't like about this is this gap that I now have, which I believe the actual running boards you can buy will fill that gap. So, since I've already got some rope in different places, I thought, well, why not just go ahead and fill that gap with some rope? And I'm probably going to do that at a later date. Right now I just want to kind of take in these running boards, but something like that. I think you get the idea. It's hard to do with one hand. But that'll fill that gap nice, and it'll kind of match everything else I have. So that's it. So hope you guys like this. I know I do. This came out as good, if not better, than I had envisioned. Once I get this car out of the garage, I'll be able to step back a little bit farther and get a good look at this thing. But right now it's not running, so I'm just kind of working with a little bit of space that I have right here. So cool. I'm very happy with that. Alright guys, so that was pretty exhausting. It's not as easy as it looks. The hardest part about this custom running board is getting the shape cut in that piece of wood just right to fit nice and snug in between those fenders and up against that body. That would be the hardest part. So if you're considering doing this, I would go ahead and follow along my video. I'm sure there's somebody out there that's already done this, and they may have done it an easier way, a better way, but I think this is going to work out just perfect. Looks incredible. I like the idea that I might go to some car shows and I might be the only person to have wooden running boards that I know of. I know they're out there. Don't quote me on that. I'm just saying I haven't particularly seen them myself. So I like the fact that I got something that other people don't have. That's kind of the whole idea behind Punchy's Garage. I want to create unique, artistic add-ons and customizations to these cars that I haven't seen before. I've got a lot of creativity up here, and I need to get it out. So if you like what you see, please subscribe and hit the bell and give it a share. I know there's a lot of people that would like to see this done. I had some doubters. They said I wouldn't be able to do it. Well, I did it. So thanks for watching. Subscribe, share. I'll see you on the next one. Okay, don't forget to subscribe by clicking on the right there, and make sure you check out my other video on the left. See you on the next one.